all come to play. Going back for warriors, keeping the whispers away. In suits and in skirts, we're the rebels you say. Talking about life and dreaming of a different day. On the back row we stay, in the back we don't sway. Just let the sermon flow, we're on the back row.
It is time for another episode of The Cultural Hall. Because of poor life choices, we are recording this at what is too early of an hour on my behalf. I'm joined by the news wizard himself, Verlin, who, where he lives, it's basically tomorrow. He's not in Australia, but it feels like that's how big a difference it is. Excited to be able to talk about these articles of news as we do yet another news episode. Is this a 2024 retrospective? No, it's not, but I did stay up way too late last night, wishing that we had more presidents like Jimmy Carter. That's how. That's why my voice sounds like this. You are the first person I'm talking to, and it was not very long ago that I said, you know what, I should probably stop learning about former President Jimmy Carter, who is now passed, and just go to sleep. So I appreciate you joining me and talking news and all the things. I need to know from you a couple of things. One, for Christmas, did you receive an awesome gift that you went, oh my gosh, my someone knows me so well, and what was it?
I will say I received an awesome gift that I was totally surprised by, in fact, speechless when I opened it. Mm-hmm. My wife gave me a brand new iPhone 16.
You're spoiled.
And I was floored. I was not expecting it at all, number one. Number two, I didn't realize, evidently, after she and everyone else commented after I opened it, they're like, well, you've spent the last 6 months saying my battery's not lasting, my screen's terrible, I don't know what's going on. I said, I don't remember saying any of that. So I have a beautiful, brand new iPhone 16 Plus, and thankful for it.
And also, my wife is taking me to this place. It says Memory Care Center on the front. I'm not sure what that's about, but she says I'm going to be able to live there, and it's so nice. That's hilarious.
Yeah, it was great.
Now, let me ask you this: Are you a guy that will wait until the last possible minute to get another phone? Like, this one's still good, it still works, it's fine. Or
I'm not the last minute guy, but I'm not the first guy either.
Okay.
And I still, when people ask me, what's your favorite phone you've ever had and what size, I say the iPhone 12.
Okay.
So it's kind of the way it is. Actually, maybe the iPhone 7 because it was a little smaller and could fit in my front pocket without killing me when I bent over.
Sure.
So, yeah.
How do we like the 16 though?
It's beautiful. It's wonderful. I've got to figure out if I can carry it in my pocket or hold it with one hand without dropping it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'll figure that out.
Yeah.
How about you? Were you surprised by anything that you got from under the tree, or that Santa may have dropped off?
Oh, you don't want to know about Christmas in our house.
Absolutely, I do.
Oh, no, you don't. You're not.
Why not?
You're not going to like it because people don't like the way we do Christmas.
I'm sure I would. Everyone has to do it their own way.
No, I don't think that you will. In fact, I am willing to bet. I'm going to tell you about it right now, but I'm willing to bet that you'll go, that's stupid.
I'm not sure. Well, yeah, I have said that. I'm not sure I say that often. So let's see.
No, you don't. But the way that we observe Christmas is ridiculous. And that's just it. That's all.
Is this a joint decision between you and your best half?
Yes.
Well, then it's great.
No,
right?
It's not. Why do you keep trying to tell me it's great? It's not. We know
because you've made a decision to do it a certain way. But okay, try me out. Try me out.
We know it's not. Okay, so here is what we do with gifts. Because we are, I love the term, so I like to drop it whenever we can. Because we are dinks, that is, dual income,
no kids. Yeah.
We live a life that is different from most people.
Blessed, charmed, positive in every way.
The things that we're able to do, other people are not able to do. Well, we can't do that. It's with the kids. We don't ever have that, right? Our kid is our dog. So occasionally there is, well, we're going to have to drive to Australia because we can't leave Robert home. And then we can't go to Australia because we have a dog and we can't drive there.
Yeah, honestly, dogs are tougher than kids in many ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's just about on the cusp of like, we could maybe do a plane, but they might weigh him. We might have to put like, one of those thinning suits that the high school wrestlers are in, and just get him a little bit thinner so that he can travel, because he really is on that weight cusp to be able to go on a plane.
Get him to just spit a little bit before getting on the flight. Yeah.
You pee, Robert, pee. Otherwise, you're not coming with us. God, I'm so much. Anyway. So as far as Christmas goes, this is what we do. Mm-hmm. We don't do Christmas. That's it. We don't do Christmas. We didn't go anywhere this Christmas. I think that I kissed my wife and told her Merry Christmas, but as far as gifts on Christmas or stockings on Christmas, or we always have this Christmas, we don't do it.
Okay. But you give gifts to each other throughout the year.
Sure, and we do label these gifts. We call them Christmas gifts that are usually at last part of the year. It's a time when, so in our home, we do lots of stuff in the spring because we are really restless by the time the weather starts to get warm.
Yeah.
So we kind of have this month of, it's like, I'm becoming an arborist, and I'm going to figure out how to, all that stuff, right? My wife, heirloom seeds, and we need to get loads of hen manure without roosters, part of it, and stupid, all these things, right? And then summertime, we typically go on a vacation, but I work the majority of that time, so that's how summer goes. Fall, we really like, but then there's this one point in fall time where everything starts to turn inward and get dark for us. It's right around the autumnal equinox.
Yep.
And we go, oh, this is real. Here it comes. And then personal battles. And then as we start to climb out of that, we say things like, hey, do you want anything for Christmas? And we look at each other and go, no, what are you going to buy me? I don't want to tell you something to buy me. I'll just buy it myself when I want it. How about that? Last year for Christmas, what I got for Christmas was, hey, babe, you're going to be really mad because I bought this really expensive thing for work and I didn't tell you about it. Will you allow me to have this without you getting mad? Sure. Merry Christmas.
See, you're just adapting Christmas to what fits and suits you the best.
That's not Christmas. My wife's gift, she got, she really likes the coffee because she, Jesus doesn't ask her to abstain because she's never made the promise.
Right.
And so she got this fancy espresso machine. And she really wanted to get that as soon as we got back from our road trip and said, I'm buying it. And I said, great. And she said, here's the deal. Because we have, for our own spending, we have like personal budgets. She says, I don't have the money for this, but I do next year. Can I buy it early? And I said, Merry Christmas. And that was the gift that we got her for Christmas. So it's not
That's Christmas. It's Christmas.
No, we didn't even we didn't.
And you go to the church sacrament meeting and you sing and you do all that stuff, and she goes to the sacrament meeting with you even.
But not on Christmas this year. That was a couple of days early.
Yeah, but it was still only 1 hour church, so that's officially Christmas sacrament meeting.
Sure, it is a celebration for sure. Sure.
That is too funny. Too funny. I'm sorry. I'm a consummate optimist. I'm always going to believe that people making choices is good. The only thing I have a problem with is just, you're so privileged because you take so many vacations.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a fair point. That is a fair point.
Yeah. Well, I can't critique too much. I'm right in the middle of two. We actually landed at 5. We got home at 5 in the morning on Saturday morning, and we're leaving this morning right after this taping on another trip. So,
and where are you going again?
We're going just up to the mountains of North Carolina this time, about a 3-hour drive west. And we're going to a city that was devastated by the floods just a couple of months ago. And we're going to spend our money there for a few days over New Year's Eve and New Year's Day and try to support the locals.
I was going to make the very inappropriate joke of, I hope you're bringing your own place to live. Because as I understand it, so completely decimated.
Some places, yes.
Places like not. Some roads are not even still connected. And this is from, September? Is that when this is?
Yeah, late September. You're right.
Yeah.
Susan did a great job. She said, "Let's go do this." Susan's my wife, to be clear. As I introduce her sometimes, my first wife. And depending on who you are, what your religious background is, you take that differently.
Sure.
And so she said, "Let's go up to one of these devastated communities," and we found a hotel that's in a very old building. I don't know when it was built, but it's on the Register of Historic Places. Great reviews. And she's not a bed and breakfast kind of person usually, but I think this is going to be pretty close to that. So we'll just go hang out. Luckily, she's a sports fan like I am. We'll watch a bunch of football over the week and enjoy hiking and doing some just, messing around this little town, and maybe even drive over to Asheville that was completely decimated and spend some time there too.
I just want to recap this. So good person, first of all, beautiful, and likes the sports and will put up with you watching sports several days on end. That
let's put it. Actually, that last one is more like I have to put up with how much sports she wants to watch.
Really?
Yeah. She's the one that buys the season tickets to Carolina football and basketball. I buy the baseball tickets, and she's the one that's really bought into college sports particularly.
Now, as we kind of transition towards the news, we'll make an official break and then come back and do articles of news. But that is not this. How are we feeling about Belichick coming to Carolina?
Oh, totally mixed feelings.
Yes.
First feeling is the world of collegiate sports has changed, so we have to change with it.
Sure.
Number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, I do not know how he is going to run a collegiate football team because he's never been attached to collegiate football.
Right.
So we will see. I mean, people are calling this, instead of Chapel Hill, North Carolina, now it's Chapel Bill. Susan is probably a little more reticent than I am about the whole thing, but we were both at the basketball game at Carolina where they officially announced it, where Belichick came out onto the court and was introduced, and then departed as quickly as he could without being seen by anyone else. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing when you get your name and license and all of these things. Collegiate sports are essentially just,
it's minor league pro.
Yeah,
it's minor
league pro at this time. It is no longer college.
And you can't even call it minor league because some of these kids are getting paid millions of dollars.
Yeah,
you don't get paid millions in the minors usually.
Yeah, as we'll get into some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. And of course, you care about that because you're in the Carolinas.
I do.
Yeah,
I do, but I'm also a big fan of our friends, the team down south, as some people call it, who wear red.
That team down south. Let's take a break. When we come back in the second half of Articles of News, we will do actual Articles of News. BestDJinUtah.com is the website. That is where you go if you would like me to come and DJ your event. Now, will I do a family reunion where you all wear the same T-shirts? You bet I will. Will I travel to wherever you're at? Uh-huh. Am I reasonable as far as what I cost? Yes. Do I bring a good time? Yeah, all the things. Listen, Best DJ in Utah, it's my company. It's a thing I do that allows me to be able to have the time to do the cultural hall. So if someone's getting married, you think, man, they need a great DJ. You're throwing a party, whether it's a 50th or 60th or 40th or 20th or whatever the party is. I've done them all and would love to be able to do that. An anniversary party, certainly done those. I did a baptism in 2023. Yeah, we did a big dance party at a baptism. Spoiler, not a Mormon baptism, but it was fun nonetheless. BestDJinUtah.com is a website. I will get back to you within 24 hours with a quote. Come on now. BestDJinUtah.com.
Imagine running a small business today. It's challenging. Imaging and internet presence is an absolute must. Even with that, you're still a small star in a bright cyber universe. Now, imagine you have someone who understands how to get your site designed for your talents and then easily searched by potential clients. Imagine Lennon Design. Whether it's strictly a website or a whole package of logo creation, advertising media, and promotional materials, Lennon Design is your partner in business. They'll test the boundaries of their imagination to create something unique for you. When you need creative, affordable design, let it be Lennon Design. Call 801-699-3022 or visit LennonDesign.com.
Here in the second half of Articles of News, we do the actual articles, those things that people are talking about, or in this case, have been talking about for a little bit, and finally we get the opportunity to address them. We call it Articles of News, and we always start it out when I say the words, "Hit it, Peter," and Peter Breinholt sings this.
You can't lose articles of news.
And away we go. So let's get to it. I asked you to prepare some news, some things that you wanted to talk about, and I also said, here are some things that we need to talk about first. So before we get into a very, very sad story, let's talk about a couple of BYU stories.
Great. Yeah. First off, I am still running the natural high. For those of you that grew up in the 60s and 70s, you understand what that means.
Sure.
The natural high of BYU crushing Colorado in the Alamo Bowl. 36-14. What was hilarious is ESPN posted the final score right after the game. They posted it as 33-14, and then had to repost it, which was great. They set up the perfect scenario for next year. For those of you that aren't big football and sports fans, the new rule is the better you do at the very end of a season dictates how well you are ranked the next season, which has kind of an ongoing effect then to help you throughout the season. So
how well are they going to be ranked, do we think?
This is a big debate. I personally think they'll absolutely be in the top 15.
Okay.
The question is, how much disrespect will they get, which is a common thing. All of us that are BYU fans know that we're typically ranked 2 to 3 places behind where we should actually be ranked. And there's no bias in that statement, of course.
Sure. No, we're just persecuted continually. First it was Nauvoo, then it was Utah, and now it's in the college football top 25.
Exactly. It just changes venue. Yeah. So in this case, I personally hope that they're number 11 or number 12 just to prove the pundits wrong that didn't put them in the college football playoff. But, that's okay.
Okay.
There were some fun stories around this as well. I don't know about you, but when I'm watching football, I'm constantly on 2 or 3 screens at the same time. I'm watching X, and I'm watching Facebook, and I'm watching people's comments. And what was great was that during the broadcast, the national broadcasting team from ESPN probably spent 70 to 75% of their comments talking about Colorado. And 25 to maybe 30 at the most generous talking about BYU. And so there was a little bit of a furor in the social media networks about how poorly prepared they were, number one, to talk about BYU, and number two, how over the top they were talking about Colorado. Now, to be fair, Colorado has one of the superstars of football coaching the team, Deion Sanders. They had all kinds of stories with the Heisman Trophy winner. They have, likely the quarterback that's going to be drafted first in Shedeur Sanders. They have Coach Sanders' younger son playing on defense that made a little bit of a fool of himself during the game. So there was lots to talk about Colorado.
Sure.
Again, it's fun to feel persecuted as a BYU fan.
Given all that information, though, because I saw that story and then I started looking into it a little bit. There's a lot to talk about with BYU too, right? But you wouldn't have, if you're looking at this from a national perspective, appealing towards a national audience, there is more to talk about with Colorado. So non-persecution approach for me, I do think that you would talk more about Colorado than you would talk about BYU. I just wouldn't expect the percentages to be so slanted.
Yeah, I guess the other funny. Wow, you're the one that's up early and my voice is sounding like I'm the one. The other thing that was funny, though, is, again, that ESPN mistake on the final score. But ESPN is posting throughout the game on social media. The first post they post, literally middle of the second quarter when BYU is up 20-0, the first post that they post is when Colorado scores their first touchdown. In the third quarter. They don't post anything at all about BYU.
No,
it's great. So yeah, it was a fun game here in North Carolina. The game ended around 11:30, close to 12 o'clock. I could not sleep for about an hour and a half, just because I was so excited about the wonderful win. And as any good BYU fan, I'm already worried about how bad they're going to be next year.
And whether or not we should have continued our contract with Kalani Sitake. Listen, we need to let him go. 11-2, guys.
That's right.
It was interesting to me. I followed BYU quite a bit this year until they lost, and then I stopped caring. I'm the worst fan.
Well, we balance each other out. I have not missed watching a BYU game either in person or that's been nationally televised on any platform almost my entire life.
Really?
Yeah.
So one of my favorite memories growing up, and what I need to do, I was going to do it this year, but the bowl game didn't really work out. My dad is a football at BYU fanatic. He attended the Brigham Young, and he does this thing where if it's on TV, he will stand about 2.5 feet from the TV with his arms folded the entire time, and he knows. He's like, "Come on, BYU! Come on, BYU!"
He knows that until the final buzzer sounds, BYU can give it away.
Yep.
He just knows. Yeah.
Yes.
We've been there. We've seen it.
Yeah. But I've always wanted to go to a bowl game with him. I've gone to just a regular game with him. But
next year, they're going to go to a bowl next year. Do it next year.
Yeah. The thing is, though, you sort of have to gamble a little bit on buying the tickets and all that. Anyway, so.
Yeah, or you just wait until the last minute and pay what you got to pay.
Nope.
But you're a dink, so, you can deal with that.
That means something else. I was also fascinated to see the 5-star recruit that BYU got, like a genuine, people are all eyes on BYU basketball because of a recent commitment.
Absolutely. This is this is even better than when University of North Carolina convinced Michael Jordan to come to the University of North Carolina, because Michael was still fairly unknown. But this kid that just signed up for BYU is being called a generational talent in basketball. AJ DeBonsa is coming in, and this is the biggest surprise in college basketball for the last couple of weeks, and people won't stop talking about it all year. People will literally come to the games and watch the games because AJ is playing, no matter who he's playing for. And so BYU has this lineup now with what looks to be 2, probably 3 first-round NBA draft picks after next season, and they've got even more recruits on the line. They could turn into a powerhouse as long as they can stay ahead of the competition in essentially buying players in a pretty real way.
The name and licensing comes in play here too, where this has $7 million. This isn't.
Well, that's the rumor is $7 million. Evidently, his father says that all of the schools that were in the final bidding, there were 4 of them, including the University of North Carolina, as well as Kansas and Alabama. He said all of them offered the same amount of money.
Okay.
And when in all the press conferences, when they've talked about what the decision was about, number one, Kevin Young, the coach, who is first-year coach, unbelievably, again, in collegiate basketball. He's coming from the pros.
Right now.
He's in his first year right now.
Yeah.
And first-year recruiting. So the coach is number one. The other thing that they're not really playing up, which I think is really important, is they're capturing players who are serious about playing basketball and serious about not goofing around and wasting time on typical college activities.
Sure.
And so I think a lot of these parents are
and ladies is
exactly. Exactly. Now what they don't realize is you can find anything you want at BYU if you want to find it.
Sure.
And there are plenty of parties to go to. They're just root beer parties rather than keggers.
Yeah, if you want a real party, you go to Orem. It's just on the border of Provo.
Just across the line. Hey, the stuff that happens up in that canyon,
Yeah. Oh, no.
Anyway.
And if we don't talk about it, squat.
That's right.
Looking at you. So it's fascinating to me that the commitment is there. And just like you said, want to be able to focus on this whole thing. For me, I think that's just such an incredible thing that BYU has to offer that I would say few other places have to offer, where it's like, listen, you focus on ball. And, these aren't people that are going to be playing college ball for 4 years. They're coming for a year. And then
a year or 2 if we're lucky.
Yeah. So,
we'll see how it turns out. Again, as a lifetime BYU fan, There's always that doubt in the back of your mind. Everything's being set up great, but Sean Bradley comes back from his mission and goes right to the pros instead of helping BYU get to a Final Four.
Sure.
So we'll see what happens with AJ and Yegor Demon and all the rest of the crew that are really shaping up well. Now, one of my good friends, JT Tavanari, who played for BYU, who played pro in Europe for 10 years, he's very high on this team. He has really high hopes, and he's a pretty realistic guy, and he's also an insider, practices and coaches on the side some of the guys that are on the current team, and he's pretty excited about what's going on with this team.
Now, the only other question that I have about it, I mean, there will be the assumptions that we took some of our hundreds of billions of dollars and funneled it through. There are. I've seen them on.
People are already asking how much of that tithing fund went to AJ.
Yeah, and none of it, as far as
zero.
It was the money made on the tithing. That's how we split the hair. I'm teasing.
No. To be honest. No, thank you. I mean, we got to thank Ryan Smith and Danny Ainge here. Those guys have a lot of money. They've thrown a lot of money at this. And what I love to see is, because Ryan Smith is such a big BYU supporter, but he's also a co-owner of the Jazz and also the Utah Hockey Club, I love the people that are saying, well, we're not going to go to any of those games because any money you spend there is going to be sent to BYU for name, image, and likeness payments. So I am thrilled by that reaction myself.
And then the last step of this is the thought is that because the Utah Jazz will have a fairly early draft pick, the sweep from Provo up to Salt Lake, right? Because of the relationship.
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. And certainly the Jazz organization is spending a lot of time at BYU games already. And what I've been hearing again from friends that are there at every game, they're saying that it's now 5 to 10 NBA scouts are at every single game.
Jeez. What a huge thing for the program.
Massive.
And obviously this guy and the majority of the team, not members of the church.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's interesting to note that, just because there's a part of me that wants, 12 rando Mormon white guys from, the West or Midwest to be able to pull off the national championship.
Oh, don't worry. Half the roster is still 10 rando, half rando white guys that, played great church ball and hustle and play way better than any commentator expects them to play.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there we go. We were able to talk about sports way more than we normally do.
We did. We've got people already writing emails and telling you this is not a sports program.
He is old and he talks about sports. He's not old. He's younger than I am. He's not, actually. Let's move into this really sad story. This just came out the last couple of days.
Terrible.
The spokesman for the church, Sam Penrod, wrote the following: "We are saddened to announce that President Jason Michael Soulier, I think is how you say it, serving in the France Lyon mission, passed away unexpectedly in his sleep on Saturday." That was just now a couple days ago as we record this. He had been feeling ill for a few days preceding his death. An official cause of death is still to be determined. 54 years old. He began being a mission president only 6 months ago. He was from the east side of Salt Lake in the Mill Creek Stake. He's survived by his wife and his mission companion. That's the same person, for those who might make that sound like that's two different people, along with their 4 adult children. We pray all will feel the Savior's love as they honor and remember President Soulier's faithful service. Elder James W. McConkey III, second counselor in the Europe Central Area Presidency, and his wife Laurel are traveling to Lyon to support Sister Soulier and provide temporary leadership of the mission. So here is what I think is crazy. Will she get to continue to serve her mission, or is now she done?
I am going to assume, I don't know for sure, but I'm going to assume that she'll be honorably released, just like any other missionary might be given these kind of circumstances in their mission. If a couple was serving and one of the couple passed away, I'm guessing they would be honorably released.
But if she wanted to stay, would they let her stay and lead the mission?
I don't know, because I don't know what the handbook says about it, but I am guessing not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you would probably have to have like someone with authority presiding over that mission.
Right.
But if she was like, no, this is what we wanted to do, and we were called of God to do it, I wonder what they would do in that scenario.
I wonder too.
Okay, well, Elder McConkey will be the, presiding authority, and you can be the,
Wouldn't that be cool if they let that happen?
incredible. It would be incredible.
I think that would be incredible, not only for her, but incredible for the 200 missionaries who are now traumatized. When you're a missionary, and those that have served know this, those that have not served have maybe seen others that do this. One of my mission presidents, we almost all get 2 mission presidents. One of mine is
I had 6, but yes.
One of them was like my second father. We got to dig into this 6 mission president thing.
Okay. Yeah. We can get there if you want to talk about it.
Yeah. So these 200 missionaries looked at this man as really a father figure, both not just spiritually, but very much temporally for those 2 years. Mm-hmm. And so this is a huge trauma to this mission. And I think it'll be really important that Elder McConkey, and I'm sure they'll bring in all the right resources to help and ensure that people are okay and get over this and have the right perspective and are able to have successful missions anyway.
Yeah. Let me tell you how they did it for me, because we had a mission president who had some heart issues, and they never told us that he had some heart issues. They just were like, hey, this mission president is not your mission president anymore. And then they said, hey, this random guy will be your mission president for a little bit. How long? We don't know. Okay. And he was there, and he was very strict. He used to be a Utah Supreme Court judge. That was his temperament. So think Elder Oaks with less personality, and then we had another guy. He was just a senior missionary in our mission, and he was the mission president for a hot minute. And then we got 2 other ones, and then we finally resided with who our final mission president was, and everyone was like, "Oh, is this it? Are we done?
Is this real? Yeah.
Yeah. Is this the one that we're having?" So, to your point, many people were like, "We had this relationship that we were able to build over the time." Everyone that served in that window of time that I did was like, "Who? Okay, no, I'm not doing anything inappropriate, and we're good."
Oh man. Well, in this case, everyone knows what happened, and I'm glad the church was transparent about it. Yep. They kind of had to be.
Sure.
To your point in your mission, I have a really good friend here in Raleigh who's been mission president now twice. And both times he was mission president were both exceptional kind of calls. One, he was serving as the medical director for a series of missions in Latin America. And for some reason, a mission president had to be released early. No details. And they asked him to step in and become the full-time mission president for the next 2.5 years.
Wow.
To replace this gentleman. And then during COVID, he was actually serving as one of my counselors when I was bishop. And the stake president called me and said, "Hey, the previous mission president is just being called to the quorum of the 70, Elder Holland, then Matt Holland.
Okay.
And we need a temporary mission president because the new mission president called is in Australia, and because of COVID is not allowed to come here.
Oh wow!
So can I take your counselor and have him serve as mission president?"
And you were like, "Nope, sorry."
I'm like, "Nope, Dave cannot go." But I said, "Yes, of course." And he said, "Well, do you need a substitute?" And I said, No, don't worry about it. I'll just plan on Dave coming back when the new mission president comes in." So he went and served as the president of the Raleigh, North Carolina mission for several months. And he's such a fantastic man that he and his wife built incredible relationships with the local missionaries here in North Carolina.
Wow. That's super cool.
Created a great experience, particularly during COVID, as would be totally challenging for missionaries.
What I find fascinating about that story is, one, that worked as well. I would imagine in some cases it does not work as well to try and do that for me. And then 2, the smoothness and ease of which you were able to calling drop within that story.
Okay.
Just like in the real world, people name drop like, "Hey, I know, Lindsay Lohan and I were at breakfast," whatever the thing is, right? And people can just work it in. We, as Mormon people, we have this calling drop that we love to throw in on occasion. Yeah, when I was serving as stake president, back when we were, whatever the thing is, just smooth.
Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment from the man who does not celebrate Christmas.
Yeah. Why don't you celebrate Christmas? All right, so now let's go to this next news story. This is a look back at all the time and attention and service hours that the church has given.
Yeah, so it hit social media last week, and I was quite impressed. I saw a post on X, and it listed the church's humanitarian aid specifically in financial aid and goods for the last several years. And for the year 2024, the church will end the year at contributing $1.36 billion. I almost want to say $1.36 billion. And that's up from about 1.2 last year and about 1 billion the year before. And what that doesn't include is 6.2 million volunteer hours around the world at the same time. And if you put a number against that, say, make it easy, $10 an hour, there's another 620 million, right? That's that the church contributed. So huge contributions. And I'm sure there's going to be people that say, yeah, but out of over $100 billion, that's just 1% or whatever. Sure. Right? Well, let's find anyone else that's contributing that much and trying to contribute that much.
The other thing that I saw sort of in like the naysaying of all that is that I think some, and I would have to look at how these organizations put together like the value and all that stuff, is that some of that money isn't money that's coming from the church. It is the church claiming the money that is given from individuals and saying, oh, how much did you give, and sort of incorporating that into it. Or if I am, and maybe I might have read the article, some people will know what I'm talking about, but where they take the value of like the 1.3 billion and somewhere there's an equation of like that is worth a certain amount in volunteer time. And obviously that's not this story, but that they go, oh, yeah, that's not even the church, air quotes, the organization. That's the people that are doing all this. So the church is doing even less. I went down that rabbit hole. And there are times where you look at statistics and go, this is not saying what this thing is, but I do think it's significant. $1.36 billion.
That's right. Could they contribute more? Of course.
Sure.
But think about the challenge of contributing dollars around the world. Number one, you want to make sure it goes to a worthy cause.
Yep.
I work very closely with another charitable foundation, and that's one of our biggest challenges is when we're contributing or looking to donate money to an organization in Ecuador or in Haiti or in the Congo, how do we know those dollars are going to go do what we need them to do?
Right.
And so the church is very careful with that and finds organizations that are credible. And that's why they partner so often with other credible organizations like the Catholic Humanitarian Services organizations or some of the others, the Red Cross, the Salvation Army,
UNICEF,
because they're credible. Yeah.
The other thing that This is just funny, and maybe there's some truth to it. Maybe it matters. Maybe it doesn't matter at all. But I know that there's a lot of people that, because we all feel like the church in the last few years has been both more giving and also more transparent about their giving, they're like, well, yeah, once they got caught by the whistleblower, they had to start putting out there where more of their money was going. And so I always like to do this thing where I go, let's say that that's true. Let's say that that's true. Well, great. I'm glad we're giving more money.
Is that a bad thing?
Yeah, I'm glad we're giving more money now to those people. Let's say that it's just true from a visual perspective. Great. If we're doing all these things, we should be telling more people about the things that we're doing. I think that that's a great thing to do. But it is funny to note that if that is the reason, one way or another, for the reason for starting to do it, it's like, okay, well, we as
either way, it's positive, right?
Yeah.
Those are good questions. The context I like to take is step back and look at the total cultural context and say, in the world or maybe even in the U.S., what are the cultural phenomena that are happening right now? Well, everyone is becoming more transparent, from corporations to religions to even families and individuals who are willing to talk about salary. Number two, most organizations in the world, including for-profit corporations, are donating more than ever before and trying to take credit for it and marketing based on it. Right. And so this is part of a larger cultural phenomenon as well. And so I don't take it that seriously.
Well, I'll take this next story. During the Rock Springs, that's Wyoming, everyone. We're going to the 307 City Council meeting. Participants from the LDS Rock Springs Stake Girls Camp, they were recognized recently for their efforts in spreading positivity. The girls, ages 12 to 18, made bracelets with inspiring messages on them, such as, "You are loved, keep going, you are enough," among other affirmations. Each one was also packaged with a handwritten note from the girl who made it. Over 100 of these bracelets were delivered to the Rock Springs Junior High Counseling Office for the purpose of handing them out to students who might need a reminder that they are not alone and that they are seen. Quote, "It's amazing to see these girls step up and lead," said Natalie Powell, expressing pride for the students. "Their empathy and care for others has made a difference, and we are so happy to see them recognized for their service." Powell added that the girls are very aware of and want to help lighten others' burdens. Quote, "The bracelets were a small, thoughtful offering meant to show love and empathy towards their peers. Small acts like this can build connections with others, especially to those who may feel forgotten or have heavy things that they are carrying." Here's what I think is super cool about this. Is it a huge gesture? No, not necessarily. I mean, there's probably some cost associated with making these bracelets. Is there a social cost for these kids? Yeah, maybe. There might be some kids at the, middle school kids are the worst age of kids just in general. I'm sure that there's some middle-aged kids looking at these, these weird young Mormon girls that are being, well, I don't want your "You Are Loved" bracelet, right? There's some social cost of them putting themselves out there. But this is this is the thing that we should be doing. Not specifically bracelets, not everyone go out and do it, but like, hey, what is a need? What is a thing? How can we do this? This was a way that we can be able to let people know that we care. It's not Jesus, that is the Mormon Jesus loves you very much. And, it's not, we're not heavy-handed that.
Yeah.
But it is a group of girls that are going, what's a need? How can we fill that need? Let's do this thing. And even if the leaders were like, hey, we have a need and let's do this thing, I think that would be great. These girls recognized for being kind of the boots on the ground for it. And then also, I'm sure, making connections with other people at the worst time of your life when you feel disconnected and weird and awkward and all the things, and you need that, that encouragement, that inspiration, that whatever you want to call it, more than ever. Good way to go, Rock Springs girls.
I think this is fantastic. Number one, we're all supposed to be ministering to the individuals. You can't get more individual than a friendship bracelet that has a positive message on it to someone who's in trouble. Number two, immediately, because of family members of mine that are huge fans of Taylor Swift, I thought this may have something to do with some positive impact from Taylor Swift on society.
Sure.
Taylor Swifties are known for exchanging friendship bracelets, right, and making bracelets for each other. And what a great way to use kind of a cultural phenomenon to make a difference in the lives of, like you said, the most awkward stage, when you're 12, 13, and 14.
Yeah. And the worst. It's the most awkward and it's the worst.
Yeah. Let's see. I guess I was 8th grade. Yeah. My worst year of school. The only year I got in fights.
Yes.
8th grade.
What is going on in my body, and why do I feel everything and nothing at all? It is the worst.
Yeah. What a great thing to do. Kudos to the 307. Absolutely. Thanks, Rock Springs.
I'm proud of you for the Taylor Swift correlation and connection there. Good for you.
Come on. Hey.
I know you saw her on the Eras tour.
Yeah.
I just don't know where. I just don't know where you saw her in all your travels.
I know the last one was in Vancouver because I have good friends who were there.
Yeah. I know you went. Take me to the next story you would like to talk about.
Yeah, the next one is a short story, but related because my father is a world-renowned earthquake scientist, but there was a big earthquake in Vanuatu just a couple of weeks ago, 7.3, and for those in California that have lived through 7.3s, that's no little earthquake. That's a good shaker.
Yep.
And so evidently the missionaries are all fine. They didn't report any casualties from church members. I'm sure the fact that they don't have high-rise buildings helps
Sure.
in Vanuatu, but the church was on the ground immediately, trying to figure out what was needed and how they could support, and throwing all their resources at it.
I love that you, as well as everyone else I know, knows how to say Vanuatu, not because of this earthquake.
That
but
is
because-
correct.
But because of a season of Survivor. Otherwise, you would have said, Vanuatu.
Isn't there a temple being built in Vanuatu?
Yes, there is.
Yeah, that's why I know how to pronounce it.
Oh,
It's
cool.
not because of my Survivor.
Yeah,
I
sure.
watched the first 3 seasons, and then I was done with Survivor.
Yeah, no, that's how you know places. You rewatch that portion of General Conference. Vanuatu.
That's right.
You just say it over and over so you can get it down.
a
I
great
love
word.
The way the church will respond to things like that. It's just incredible.
Yeah.
I love the stories where you hear about the mayors or governors or heads of state or whatever, where they go, you know what, we got a few people that we need to thank with the recovery here. We need to give a big thanks to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And we also need to give some props to the Mormon Church, 2 great organizations. I love when people do that.
Yeah, that's
And they go,
great.
It's the same thing.
We're getting double coverage. Shh, don't say anything, Richie.
Yeah. This just another quick story here. A Utah-born, Idaho-raised attorney will head the powerful conservative and libertarian group with huge sway over Donald Trump's court nominees. The Federalist Society, an influential organization for conservatives, is going to be led by Sheldon Gilbert. Member of the church, served a mission in Brazil, graduated from the University of Utah before earning his law degree at George Washington University. Since then has worked as vice president for content and development for the National Constitution Center. He's director of the Institute for Justice's Center for Judicial Engagement, a litigator for the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and most recently, senior counsel for Walmart. He still had some college loans out, and after doing all the civil service, he's like, guys, I need to knock these out.
I got to make some cash. Yeah.
I'm going to go private for a hot minute, and then I'll come back. I got to get this paid
Yeah.
off.
Go to work for a small company somewhere.
Yeah, something. Sam, does Sam still work here? No, he died. Okay, well, still, I'll work for Walmart. That's fine.
I live in Bentonville for a year or two.
Starting January 2nd, he's going to assume his new position as the president and CEO of the Federalist Society. I'd love to be able to visit with this guy, so we're going
Wouldn't
to...
that be fantastic?
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I'm sure he's got a thing or two going on, so it might be not the best time to reach out to him, but maybe not. Maybe I'm assuming too much busyness. But to be able to find out more about Sheldon, though conservative, and I probably, as many people will know, I'm not necessarily that way. I always think it's a tremendous honor is not the word I'm looking for, but I think it's awesome when members of the church, for the most part, when we're able to be in the spotlight for something like this. I think it can be pretty incredible for the church. And as we know, we have members of the church in all kind of political and various persuasions as far as that goes. I think that's great. Yeah.
I think it is too. It's an honor and it's recognition. I mean, the man argued over 100 cases in front of the Supreme Court. That's huge. And then to be the leader of this organization is amazing. And yes, it's not everyone's political cup of tea. But it certainly is recognition that we have good people doing good things and serving in great ways.
Yeah, I think I'm going to like him though. I heard a quote from him where when he was appointed to this position, where he said, "Suck it, Mike Lee," and so it seems like he's my kind of guy. I might.
But how does he feel about the rhino Mitt Romney?
Oh yeah, geez, right.
And I'm saying that in total sarcasm, friends. Mitt Romney is one of my favorite politicians of all time.
It's so funny to me the way that different political people, like you can have a discussion about Mitt Romney, and it is people's opinions about Mitt Romney that let me know whether I will like them or not politically. It really is. It's a litmus test. What do you think about Mitt Romney? Well, I think, and then whatever they say, positive or negative, lets me know whether or not I like them politically speaking or not.
Right. Yep.
Because I don't love everything. He's not perfect. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
But the way that they'll say, well, he ... lets me know real quick, I hate you.
Yeah, you know where they stand. Yeah,
Speaking.
absolutely.
I hate people politically
Now that
speaking.
you mentioned politics, for those that are watching the video, you'll notice that we're wearing political colors today.
Well, yeah.
So.
You got the blue, I got the red. Mine is a German beer festival.
Oh, it is nice.
In Utah.
A German beer festival shirt. At least I'm wearing the Lord's colors.
Yeah, the Lord's colors. That's when we're still close to his heart, right? Because our blood is blue before it gets exposed to the world. That's why
that was the rage of. I'm not sure that's factually true, but.
Real quick about this story. So the giving machine's still up for most people. Will be for the next couple of days, and then we get the tremendous report because there were so many this year. We know that it will be, or I guess hope that it will be record breaking to have had the giving machines in more places than ever before and more opportunities and 500 organizations that we partnered with. Super cool to see some of the stuff that we partnered with. Kansas City, certainly that's a place and some affiliation that we have a shoe-in. Andy Reid, coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, allows us pretty much access to the entire team. I'm sure that they were like, what are we doing, coach? And he's like, well, if you want to play on Sunday, you'll go ahead and get the giving machine.
That's what I wondered, if he pulled that rank. But these are all professionals that have contracts and have other things to do. And I was amazed that not just members, but non-member professional football players were getting into the action here and helping promote.
1,000% he pulled that card. Not like, hey, you're not going to play on Sunday. But I'm sure he said things like, guys, this is really
Come
important.
on, guys.
Come, think about what you can do, especially in this community, if you said, go and do this thing.
See, that's where you're being very positive and where my kind of cynicism comes in. And I'm thinking, someone's late for practice and he could have fined them $10,000. He says, hey, dude, two choices, either $10,000, Travis, or you got to help shill for the giving machines here,
Okay. That's an interesting thing.
I thought it was very impressive, some of the others that got involved. I loved the fact that they involved women players from the Women's Professional Soccer League. One of my favorite women's players is Ashley Hatch.
Yep.
I'm a little biased. She played for BYU, and then she was actually in our ward for a while.
Cool.
And so she's one of the best players in the world, plays for the Washington professional women's team, and she did promotional activities.
Olivia Moultrie.
Olivia Moultrie did the same thing in Portland. So really fantastic. And I love the fact that this is getting so much what I'm going to call non-church exposure. It's starting to show up in, non-church related news stories and such.
Yeah, it wasn't this year. I want to say that it was last year or maybe the year before that I think Drew Barrymore with her show went out to the giving machine and did something like that.
That's right.
So let's test your athletic knowledge. Garrett Bowles, do you know what he is and who he plays for?
Nope.
Member of the church, offensive tackle for the Denver Broncos.
That's why I don't know, because I ignore the Broncos. I'm a lifelong Raiders fan. I have to hate the Broncos. It's a rule.
Jeez, you shouldn't hate. Contention is a elder. Jeremy Guthrie, do we know who that is?
Nope.
Oh, come on. Former Kansas City Royals pitcher, went to the World Series and represent the church. Jeremy Guthrie.
Nice.
Of course, Andy Reid, and we got Patrick Holmes and all those folks. So
Yep.
Anyway, pretty incredible to see that. I am, like I mentioned, excited to be able to see just how many millions of dollars were able to be donated to those 500 organizations. Huge deal with this year's Light the World.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
This a story that's been around for a little bit. I find it fascinating. Anytime you see the church is growing, tell me a little bit about the church growth in Idaho.
Well, the report is that the church is growing dramatically in Idaho. Big surprise for those of us that know Idaho and its affiliation to the church. But what this story specifically points out, the church is growing in the Latino community, or the Latinx community, I guess, if I want to be
I haven't heard that for a bit, though. I know that was where that was leaning. I'll go Latinx with you, but I think Latino is still appropriate to say.
I think so too. But I think this is really interesting. More and more wards and stakes that are Spanish-speaking wards and Spanish-speaking stakes by design, which I think is wonderful. And adapting the church to the specific needs that are there.
Referencing to the church's emphasis on family that resonates sort of hand in glove with Latino culture, a lot about family, the church community, especially if you have ever, and I don't have this luxury, but I can see it. There is, right after my particular ward in my building, the Latin or the Spanish ward meets.
Right.
The community in the Spanish ward compared to the community in our ward, that's no sort of knock. I think we do a fairly good job for what we're doing, but it's not like the Spanish ward at all.
Yeah. For those of you that have Spanish wards in your buildings, you know what Richie's talking about. For those of you that don't, go to a Spanish meeting sometime, or just go to a ward building that has a Spanish ward meeting in it on any random Friday or Saturday night. You're likely to find some kind of party going on.
Yes.
They have more social activities and more outreach and more welcoming, warm environments than anywhere else I've ever seen.
Yeah, it is a community that I think my heart of hearts wishes for something like that until I was in that situation, and then I'd go, please don't. Thank you, I'm not. But
yeah,
there's a certain part of my heart that thinks, man, that would be a cool.
That's really, really cool, but it's not part of my standard, psyche, right?
Yep.
To want to be involved in something that deeply, and
Yep.
maybe that's something to teach us about how deeply we should be involved with the gospel.
Well, thank you for bringing shame into my heart. I appreciate that. Maybe there
Opportunity, not shame.
Yeah,
Just
no,
opportunity.
how I heard that is maybe there is something wrong with me, and I do need to look at that in a different way.
Not intended at all.
There is one last story that I want to do about. This sort of feels like maybe a no story, but I guess it's unique enough to have it be a story. 3 generations of sister missionaries all serving in, I think it's Kuala Lumpur.
It's the Singapore mission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sister Tanya Tolman, serving as a mission leader with her husband. Sister Kiara Tolman, their daughter, is a service missionary who manages the social media, creates content, and assists with missionary work. And Sister Linda Yost Barend, Sister Tanya's mother, a senior missionary. They are all serving in the same mission. And so they were able to get the 3-generation mission picture, which I think is super cool. Story? I don't know. Is it changing? Is it changing anything? It's cool.
Yeah, for those of us that are members of the church, we know this is something that can actually be fairly manufactured fairly easily. So Sister Tanya, I'm sure, Tanya Tolman was called to serve with her husband. Mm-hmm. Their daughter is of an age where she was eligible to serve, and children of mission presidents are able to volunteer to serve in their parents' mission if they wish.
I didn't know that.
Yes. And so, and as a service missionary, you get to choose where you want to serve anyway.
Wait, back the train up for a second.
Yeah.
So if you had kids at home and you're the North Carolina mission president, and as I'm living in your home, I'm old enough to go serve a mission, I can go, Dad, we're doing it right here.
I believe that's the case.
The more you know.
My mission president had 2 daughters. I hope they're not listening to this. If they are, I apologize. But all of us missionaries were hoping that their daughters did not volunteer to serve in our mission.
It wouldn't be a thing that I would want to do, right? That would feel like you're working, your dad's the CEO, and no matter what you do, you would feel like you got special treatment. I guess there's some circumstances where I would probably do it, or like my heart would want to do it, but then my mind would go, all right, we probably should do this a different way. Because you also would have a different experience having a different mission president whom is not your father and mother.
But it may be great for some people. Yeah. And then senior missionaries, you can choose where you want to go on your senior mission.
Right.
So I think it's cool. And the thing that I thought was cool about this is it's 3 women missionaries.
Yes.
Not male missionaries.
Yeah, I like that version of it. And then the highlighting of here's all the different ways you can serve now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Now, if they can get their uncle, who's 43 years old and wants to serve a mission there, that would be great, right? And so they could do the trifecta, or the get 4 people in.
The last story that we'll do, if you have not seen this, it was highly more impactful right before Christmas. But what will have the audio be as we sort of play this out is we will have
play it out. Nice job there.
President Nelson on Christmas Eve playing the piano. And I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas as we get this out before the new year. I hope you have a great new year, that you look forward to all the great things that a new year offers, whether it's a fresh start that you've needed or a new impetus. Let's get those goals. Let's go get them. Cultural Hall is going to have, it's going to land on its 1,000th episode 1 year from now. That is an undertaking I wish I wouldn't have said.
That is amazing.
I wish I wouldn't have said it out loud. Now I'm committed to it. If you are looking, you've got those last-minute tax dollars that need to be spent. Don't spend them here. We're not a 501c3. We don't have organizations backing us up. But if you just want to do a Patreon, or you'd like to do a one-time donation, please and thank you, I will say to that. We'll wrap this episode out, and then I'll put the audio on the end of this of President Nelson playing the piano. He shared this on social media. If you have not yet heard it, I wanted to share it with everyone else. Verlin, I hope that this episode has nourished and strengthened your body.
And I hope that if you weren't well enough to listen this week, you'll be well enough to listen next week and all the way through that 1,000th episode.
And that when the time comes, you'll be able to travel home in safety.
In the meantime, Chris at Alpine Lakes Travel, Debbie Wanless, Chocolate Cake Bites Podcast, and the Tiger, with a U, will be saving a seat for you
on the back row
of
the Cultural Hall.
Save me a seat, it's sure to be neat on the back row.